Dear guests and dear colleagues, I believe we can start. 5 minutes of academic delay was done. And as you might know, we are going to have our second edition of Recognition Accelerator. And we have a unique opportunity today to discuss insights and recommendations with bar leaders. My name is Sergій Барбашин. I'm the president of the European Young Bar Association and chairman of the UNBA NextGen Youth Committee. And before I jump into main topics, I would like to introduce you our organization. First one is European Young Bar Association. It's a non-profit association founded in 1993. For the time being, we unite more than 36 organizations from more than 25 countries. By organization, I mean National Bar Association, young committees, young departments, and structures, and main bar association. Our values and goals are promoting interest, education for young lawyers, establish professional legal and social connection between lawyers, and encouraging the development of young lawyers bar association. Our second organizing today is UNBA NextGen. UNBA NextGen is a Ukrainian National Bar Association Youth Committee that was established in 2018. We have similar values and goals and act on regional level in Ukraine, plus we develop our international development. Interesting facts about UNBA NextGen that committee has representatives in almost each region of Ukraine. For the time being, it's more than 20 regions. And despite the war was started in Ukraine, the committee has never stopped its activity. As you may know, our strength is our unity. We may have common interests, conferences, workshops, communities, connections, and we have our own challenges. I mean, knowledge exchange, access to the profession, appropriate working conditions, working with mentors, and so on. We may work with them during our conferences, and using this opportunity, I invite you to our summer conference in Copenhagen this summer in June, and to make save the dates to our international weekend in London, which will be in September this year. And primary goal for today is to hold second edition of our Recognition Accelerator. I can remind you that in December we had first edition. This meeting was related to rankings, and we had a meeting with rankings system representatives. Among them were Legal 500, Chambers and Partners, World Market and Further, and others. And we discussed how young lawyers can prevail in rankings, and received a useful tips for us, what we should do in this regard. And second edition of our Recognition Accelerator is related to meeting with bar leaders. We are happy that bar leaders accepted our invitations, and we are here today to discuss their insights, their experience, and build this cooperation with young lawyers. Each bar leader received our proposal to prepare a short speech on information about background, describe which parts of activity, which direction their organization work to help young lawyers, and of course to provide tips for young lawyers how to prevail in their development, how to build success leader skills and legal companies. I don't want to postpone this anymore, and I'm happy to introduce our first speaker. Our first speaker is Валентин Гвоздій. He's the Vice President of the Ukrainian National Bar Association and the Bar Council of Ukraine, which manage self-government bodies and regulates legal profession in Ukraine. In April 2022, he was appointed Vice President of the Council of Europe Committee of Experts of the Protection of Lawyers. Valentin has been a practicing attorney since 2002 and a managing partner of Go Law, the international law firm. Since 2019, he has kept the position of an independent member of the chairman of the supervisory board, Ukregidroenergo. And he is constantly highly recognized in many practice areas by leading Ukrainian international rankings, including Legal 500 and others. In 2017, Valentin was awarded the official title of honorary lawyer by the President of Ukraine. Valentin is a good example for Ukrainian attorneys and international attorneys And thanks to Valentin and other UNBA leaders, the UNBA Youth Committee was established in 2018. Let's welcome Valentin and his speech.
Thank you, Sergey, for introducing me. And I'm really happy to be here with you, dear colleagues. I'm happy to see my peers from bar associations, leaders of the bars, and especially special greetings to Roman, who is the vice president of CCBE. Appreciate and like this amazing company, enjoying and happy to be here with you. For me, focus on young lawyers was always very important. Why, you can ask me why, because when I was young lawyer, I still consider myself as a young, but when I was really young lawyer, I faced a lot of problems, particular problems like lack of experience, lack of clients. I had difficulties how to understand how a profession works, how to behave in complicated and difficult situations. It was something in my back in my years when I was young lawyer, something which you could not find easily accessible to learn. And we were struggling with that because bar association was not so active and did not help us to develop in that area. So we had to do a lot of things by ourselves. We had to explore a lot of things by ourselves. Now, I think that it's a great opportunity to share with you some thoughts how to be successful in our profession, what you should do, what you should not do, to my personal opinion. And I will be happy to do this today. I will try to save our time and be as short as possible, and I will be very open to any kind of questions after my speech in chat. So feel free to text me and I will be happy to answer. First of all, if you're a young lawyer, please, now step number one, find the right mentor. To have a right mentor means a lot. You will have opportunity to consult, you will have opportunity to ask, you will learn how to deal with difficult situations in your everyday job, during the court proceedings, during drafting documents. Without this help, I would say, it is very difficult to become a successful lawyer. Of course, I understood that the measure of the success of the successful lawyer is not only to be well-known lawyer, yes. The measure of success, of course, for us as any other business is financial success. So if you want to achieve really financial success doing our profession, practicing law, you have also to remember that the biggest asset which you have is your reputation. Reputation is something which you should protect, and you should build your reputation from the very first day of your practice when you became a lawyer. And this is something which you have to protect the most, because if it will be destroyed, it will be destroyed forever. And you need years to build it. Now I'm repeating absolutely known things, but for our profession, this is basic. You can build it for years and you can ruin it for 1 minute. So please remember, especially when you just starting your route, first, even I would say first 5 years in particular of your practice, please pay attention every second to your reputation. Please protect it and take care about that. Second, what you should think, to my mind, if you're young and started to practice within the team or without a team, please remember that your client is the very important part of your career. You should always remember then, for the law firm, for example, clients are the most important thing. I'm always asking my new colleagues who join in our law firm, what do you think is the most important in our law firm? And 65, approximately 70% of all respondees answering, the most important thing in our law firm is our team. because we're so great, we're so clever, we're so smart. I think team is important. And this team provide success for this law firm. But without clients, you cannot have any kind of success, because we're here for you. We're here for clients. So please also remember that all the time, all the time. And if you decided to do something, first ask yourself to which result it will lead. I want just to share also a few words about recent challenges which we face here in Ukraine. Of course, we will speak about it maybe later, but just briefly, when we faced terrible situation with this war, we just realized that it would not be easy to do business as usual. And this situation became even more difficult for young lawyers, for young professionals who just started their profession, because it's their life. They're not guilty. It was not their choice to start profession during the war. And it was really, really challenging for us to help our young colleagues to start their career with less stress and in the most comfortable, if it's correct word, for our current situation environment. So a few years ago, Ukrainian National Bar Association created young generation, next generation lawyers division. It's a status of this sub instance. Let's say it's a committee, one of the many committees we have in National Bar Association. In Ukraine, we have almost 70,000 lawyers. It's a very well organized structure of the bar. We are National Bar Association. We are regulator of the profession, and all members actually have to be our members based on the law. So we have compulsory membership, mandatory membership. It's not your choice. If you decided to be a lawyer, you automatically became a member of National Bar Association. So we just realized that if we will not help our young lawyers to start their careers, there are nobody else who can help them with that. And I asked a few questions before we started this NextGen committee. I asked my young colleagues, and I'm sure Sergey remembers it very well. I asked, please tell me at least 5 reasons why we should create this committee, and tell me your 5 the biggest fears. What are you afraid of the most? And I was shocked with answers actually from the young colleagues. Answer number 1, we afraid of National Bar Association. That was shocking answer for me. When I just realized that our members afraid of their own native organization, it was a great signal for me that we should do this immediately. Second, they said, we afraid our disciplinary commission. We don't know how they work, how they operate. Even if it was in the law, described very well, very transparent procedures, they didn't know how it works because they never faced it. Second, number 3, what they said, we feel lack of, let's say, mentoring. We don't have any proper contact who will be happy to receive our questions, who will be happy to listen to us, who will be happy just to help us with a piece of advice, just for free, without any procedure. That's a problem for us. And next problem was, we don't have clients. We don't have enough clients, especially those who are solo practitioners. And we said, okay, that's why we have to create immediately NextGen committee for young lawyers in our National Bar Association, and we started this process. And since 2018, we can see result today. We're doing great, and our young lawyers feel themselves as a part of community. We invite them to visit our Bar Council meeting, not all of them, of course, but according to recommendation of this committee, but we rotate people. I think more than 25 young lawyers visiting our Bar Council meetings during the year, because we sit in once per 2 months. So 2 people at least can participate. If it's online, even more. So by doing this, we're showing them that there is nothing to afraid. even opposite. You have to cooperate, you have to contribute, you have to be part of this, you have to learn how to be a leader, you have to learn what kind of problems we're facing. So we help them to understand. We organize meetings with the older colleagues, with senior colleagues, because simultaneously, by the way, it's a secret and maybe some tips for other bars. By creating Ukrainian National Bar NextGen committee, we also created committee of senior lawyers, actually, because they also facing a lot of problems, actually. When they finish in their career, they're facing absolutely different problems, but we find a way how to match those two groups of people and to benefit from communicating with each other. So they meet, they exchange their thoughts, they exchange their experience, and they're learning one from each other. Yeah, but if we're talking about personal development for young lawyers, of course, I'd like to discuss a few tips which I think will help to build career of the young lawyers. Of course, it will be one major recommendation. Please do a lot of continual learning, do a lot of networking, do a lot of communications. Learning is a key. You always have to learn something new, especially now when we live in the area of technologies, of fast moving and developing technologies. Don't afraid to use those technologies. Just dive into those technologies and use them every day. Those lawyers who will use modern technologies driven by artificial intelligence will win against those who will not use that. That's definitely what you have to do. But without solid knowledge of law, without solid knowledge of theoretical database, any artificial intelligence will help you to be successful. Please remember that. You cannot replace your knowledge with any super tool of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence tool here just to help us, but not to replace us. And this is my personal view, and I believe in that view. Also, my recommendation is to participate in so many events, seminars, social events as only available for you. Because now you have a lot of possibilities. For example, like organization, we are hosting our event today. Yes, I know that European Young Bar Association provide a lot of interesting events, as we are presenting those events as well for Ukrainian colleagues here in Ukraine. For young lawyers, we have free of charge events. A lot of them, I think 70% of them are free. So it's very easy to get access to those platforms, etc. We also build it in our bar, special school for higher school for advocates, which is amazing platform, online platform mostly now, which provide a lot of knowledge for young lawyers in a different areas of practice, starting from civil law and finishing with the law of space. So we can see now that our medium age of lawyers in Ukraine, advocates in Ukraine, according to our statistics, is 46 years old. So we consider our members as a young, bar association in general, which is very also difficult for us because we have to meet high standards. Young people want to hear new information and information of the high quality. And this is something which we do for our young colleagues in Ukraine. I also want to say that this is something actually which I was told by my mentor 20 years ago. She said she was an amazing advocate and she had practice of almost 60 years of practice, 60, you can imagine. So he was practicing until he died. She died actually in her late 80s. And she said, she was looking at me, she was, let's say, observing how I wanted to do everything at once. And she said, Valentin, please take it easy. Success will come. You will be successful. You will have everything what you want. But please remember, not overnight. All this happening not during one night. It's very difficult path you have to go through. This is path with a lot of mistakes. This is path with a lot of communication, a lot of good and bad people. And you have to go through this path. Without any doubts, this path is very interesting. And if someone can ask me, if I want to change my profession, if I had chance 25 or 30 years ago to choose something different, my answer will be no. No way. To be a lawyer mean to be a universal soldier. You can work at any position you like. For example, look at me. I'm a lawyer. I'm a managing partner of one of the biggest Ukrainian law firm in Ukraine. It's top 5. I'm also vice president of the Ukrainian National Bar Association, but I'm also a chair of supervisory board of huge #1 regarding profitability joint stock company Ukrhydroenergo, state-owned in Ukraine, because it's a part of my legal career. I operate there as an independent director, providing my legal knowledge to this big energy business. I'm enjoying being a lawyer, and I wish all of you to be successful. I wish all of you to find your own path, your specialization, and to receive a lot of joy from what you're doing as a lawyer. But if you don't like it, please quit now. Don't wait until you will fail. That's your choice, and you made it. That's all I wanted to say.
Dear Valentin, thank you so much for your inspiring speech and examples. Just a quick question. I think we may have 1 or 2 questions. I know how much you do to help Ukraine and Ukrainians attorneys during the martial law. And I noticed too many arrangements, coordination, and communication with the Bar Association, with international organization, international companies. May I ask you to highlight the current challenges of the Ukrainian National Bar Association during the martial law? Because you mentioned about legal profession, about young lawyers, but what about the current challenge for Ukrainian National Bar Association and to you as a leader in this situation?
Thank you, Sergey. But I think I was talking about that too much on many other events already, almost for more than 2 years. And I believe that a few bar associations faced something more or less similar to what we facing now. I can recall very difficult situation in Afghanistan. I can recall difficult situation from last year in Israel. I can recall very difficult situation in Turkey with the earthquake. But I'm sure that nobody faced a war, and war at such a large scale as we faced it. And if we're talking about current situation, thanks to CCBE, thanks to all European colleagues who supported us, provided us all possible and impossible help and support, we survived, we still exist, and we fighting for our country every day. And I want to say that all our operational duties actually in place. We operate at a full scale. We do bar exams, we do admission, so we conduct disciplinary procedures, we do a lot of continuous education. Nothing was stopped. We just constantly lives on the massive strike attacks of missiles, drones. We got used to it. It will sound now strange, but this is like a Russian roulette. When you go out of your house, and even if you stay home, you never know what will happen next minute, next hour, next day. You cannot plan in advance. You cannot plan. You cannot have any financial plans. You cannot have any other kind of plans which normal people usually have to have. And disruption of legal services actually had place, but we filled this gap. And National Bar Association actually provided support to everyone who needed it. And when the war began, we just realized that lawyers, advocates have to protect, have to guarantee access to legal services to everyone, including to Russian prisoners of war. And it was not very popular position, actually, I must say. And we suffered a lot from that position, from declaring this position inside Ukraine, because it was not popular. We've been accused that we are protecting aggressor, that we are protecting Russians who are attacking us, and we work for them. And it's a difficult topic, but I have to mention that today. You have to understand in which difficult conditions we operate now. And I just can imagine how difficult it is now for young lawyers to start their career, to go on, to develop, to build future plans, etc. So we will help. Sergey, I can assure you that we will help our young colleagues as much as we just can. Thank you.
Thank you, Valentin. I just see Roberta raised the hand. Just let's have last question and others in the chat, because we are already behind the schedule. Just Roberta. Please turn on your microphone.
Yeah, I hope that everyone can hear me. First of all, I send my regards to everyone and to this initiative and to the EYBA, of course. Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Gvozdy. My question is in the view of my name is Roberto. I am from Portugal. I am a trainee lawyer, and I'm also a member of the EYBA board. And my question is, how can you balance your personal life, your role at the national bar and in other associations, and your work as a lawyer? In other words, how can you sleep and still make money?
That absolutely natural question. My answer is super difficult, but that's my choice. I wanted to be busy, so I have it. But I don't think it's. I don't think this is something many people dreaming of. But I am a kind of person who cannot sit at home and do nothing. I would rather fill my schedule to 100%. Then I will skip and go to cafe, have coffee, or go outside. It's very difficult. If you choose this responsibility, you have to be ready that you will have no time. Time is not unlimited. It is very limited. Good planning, for example, now I'm planning time to call my mom. That's true. I'm not joking. If I'm not planning in the evening, late in the evening, when it will be 11 in the evening or 10 in the evening, very late, I cannot speak already because it's very difficult. It's too complicated. But that's not my choice. You can be just a lawyer. It's not necessary to go and run energy company simultaneously.
Dear Valentin.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the answers.
Thank you.
I believe after our workshop we can make a short quote of like question and answers, and it's really like inspiring us. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Dear colleagues, I am honored to announce our next speaker today. Our next speaker is Mартін Lawesен, President of the Danish Bar and Law Society. Mартін Lawesen has since 2021 been President of the Council of the Danish Bar and Law Society after a previous journey of 20 years of collegial work within the Law Society with a dedicated interest in legal ethics and promoting the rule of law. He has since 2017 been managing partner of DLA Paper Denmark, having overall responsibility for a law firm with 380 employees, with offices in Copenhagen and Aarhus. And he has in 2024 been appointed chairman of the Nordic board of DLA Paper International. Martin has for 30 years acted as a corporate IP lawyer for Danish and international clients within technology-intensive industries, focusing on license agreements, corporate structure, and private placements. He's a long-time member of the Danish Press Council, which hears complaints about Danish media. He has lectured at the Danish Assistant Attorney Program for more than 2 decades and has been an author of several textbooks on legal ethics, mediation, and IP. So Martin, the stage is yours.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you very much for actually granting me the opportunity to speak here today. It's a great honor to talk to the next generation. I'll just try to share the screen.
Yes, of course. Take your time.
Yeah, sure. I think we should be ready.
Yes, we see your screen, we see your presentation. Yes.
Okay, great, perfect. And I guess it's also, well, I mean, as you said, Sergey, we are very much looking forward to welcoming you to Copenhagen in June as well. So we are pleased that you have decided to go to Denmark for your next seminar. What I have been decided is to actually go with the three topics that you have mentioned, and just to be sure, you see the what I'll be using my minutes to talk about is the career journey, the cooperation, and the tips for young lawyers and their career building. And speaking about the career journey, I have kind of decided to mention three key items. First, and two of them has kind of defined my own career. It's an international appetite, and then it's also on a consequence of being able to say yes during my career. And the last time is actually, and that kind of goes back to my focus on ethics. That's act probably, and I kind of put it up as do as your mom. I mean, you have to act probably, even though when people are not looking. And I think that is very defining for any lawyer. You can be successful in many ways that you act, but if you're not a good person at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. As Valentin said, you can ruin your career, but it will also be hard to look yourself in the mirror. So these three issues, I'll just talk about them for a while. My own career, in many ways, actually started back when I was an exchange student, being 15 years old, and went to a small town in California called Boonville. I had actually more or less never been outside Denmark at that time, but that kind of kickstarted what should be a very global interest. And I went on after living a year in California to study, to go to high school, study law, where I went both to Cambridge and to University of British Columbia in Vancouver. And that had just kind of followed me, this interest for international aspects. I started out in a medium-sized law firm in Copenhagen following graduation, but since then have always had an interest in actually cross-border dealings. And I think a lot of the members of EYBA also had that interest. And at least for my case, it proved that given the opportunity working in Denmark, having the opportunity to actually working on a secondment in the US for 6 months just in 2001, following 9/11. We went on and later on became a part of a global network, the DLA Piper, which we still are actually the only global law firm in Denmark being part of that. So in many ways, looking back, I think there has been a common red thread going all the way through. Started when I was a high school exchange student, and then taking me now to be very much involved in international aspects, and always kind of having the global interest on top of my mind. And I think that's at least something you have to kind of designate for yourself. And I think that's at least one of the things that has been very important in my career. The next item I would like to touch upon is actually the opportunity of saying yes. And I think in some ways, I mean, you have to make up your personal mind if you want to do that. I mean, saying yes gives you some opportunities that no just doesn't do. Obviously, it comes with a price, as also the last question did relate to, saying if you say no, say yes, I mean, you also have to give up on something else. So you have to kind of make up your mind and how you want to do that. It shouldn't be for any price, but at least taking the opportunities of that comes along by providing a yes, and just kind of using my own career within the Danish Law and Bar Society as an example. The president back in the late 90s was actually a partner in the firm where I clerked, and he said to me that I think it would be a good idea that you come on the Young Lawyers Committee that was just started up back then. And in some ways that was more or less a coincidence. And I think I also at least acknowledge that a lot of your career building is in fact actually built on some ways coincidences, some ways more or less opportunities comes along, and that's why I put up, and many of you don't even know about this movie, but it's a fairly old movie called Sliding Doors, just kind of showing that you just have to accept that some part of life is also just happening, and sometimes you make the train, sometimes you don't make the train, but obviously you have to kind of be aware of the opportunities when they come along. And me being on the committee for the Young Lawyers kind of took me to being asked to teach at the education program for future lawyers. And even though I had never taught before back then, I saw it as an opportunity to do that and to kind of challenge myself, and did that. And I'm actually still doing it. I have now done it for more than 20 years. Went on to do different committee works due to the work on the education program, teaching in ethics. I also actually started writing books on ethics, and have done quite a few books. Also a bit scaring at the time, but also very rewarding. That led me to become on the ethics committee of the Danish Law and Bar Society, and back in 2015 I was elected as a fairly young member at that time as to the council, and has, as Sergey said, since 21 been president of the council. So I think the key takeaway here is, I mean, the secret to success is actually showing up. I mean, being there. I mean, luck isn't something you just find. It's something that you have to prepare for. And I think that's also what you're doing by getting involved in international committees. The last career journey aspect I put up here is do as mom, and that's, as I said already, I mean, it's very important that you are aware of how you want to be a lawyer. In some ways, you kind of have to make that decision early on. What kind of lawyer do you want to be? Are you going to be? And that goes to your specialties, but it also goes to your kind of moral and ethics. And at least what we are trying to train lawyers within DLA Piper, but also in general, is that you have to actually stand up for your positions, that you have to consider what is right and wrong, and you have to stick with that. There's an old phrase on legal ethics issues, is that if you want to have the right answer on an ethic question, you should never ask one of your partners. You should always ask the newest recruit, newest associate being recruited, because they haven't really been polluted by the world of lawyering. So do that. So ask that, get the right answer, because I mean, acting properly is not something we learn in law school. It's actually something we should have in our gut, and then take that on. So at least I urge you very much to remember what's good. Remember being the lawyers also that improves what we try to preach in the law organizations, the rule of law. I mean, being independent of everybody, but also actually being independent of your client. That's what they are paying us for. And sometimes it might be difficult because the clients want to hear a specific answer, but still stay independent for being a good lawyer, but also for your own sake. So I think maybe the other ones, the international appetite, the career movements, it's more self-explanatory, but please also remember to being a good lawyer with the right mindset. And that's why I put up this this slide, which is a Steve Jobs quote, where Steve Jobs is saying that the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking, don't settle. And I think that's very much goes in hand with what Valentin said. You have to define your own career path and make it your own. And if you're not on the right track, then you just should change it. And I think that's actually with the generation set we have coming up here today, you're very much more aware of it than my generation was. And I envy you that, and I really urge you to keep up those focuses, work on the right issues, on the purpose, on the issues of flexibility and all the other issues. So at least that's a request I hope that you'll stick with. Moving to the second issue, and also being aware of time, Sergey asked us to talk a little bit about cooperation with the young lawyers. And I put actually here the art of merging into traffic as kind of a key quote, because in many ways we have to be able to work together, the next gen and my generation, who's probably the managing partner generation right now. And we have a joint responsibility to create some kind of environment where both voices are heard, because we can learn so much from each other, we can grow together. And if we want to have a relevant law firm today, we need actually the voices of both generations. And that is in some ways, and I think it's a US quote, that you have to be able to merge into traffic using the best of both our aspects. And at least what we are doing in the Danish Law and Bar Society and also in DLA Piper is actually working on creating, which is now kind of known as this emotional safety or psychological safe culture. It's very important that we listen to each other, we have an open dialogue, that we give attention to each other, and we try to do that very much in the council. That we have to work on organizational structures where we can get some kind of inclusive culture, and we also have to be attractive, because I mean what we see from the next generation is that you have so many offerings and also different priorities. So we have to be able to offer an attractive value proposition for collegial work. It's so rewarding doing collegial work, but it still has to be attractive and it has to be fun. And so we have kind of put up as a saying in Denmark that we have to ask what we as a law society can do for young lawyers, but also what the young lawyers can do for the society. And we need to be able to both ask and answer that questions in order to actually engage young lawyers in the work that we do. And just as in any law firm, it's also important in collegial work to have a good pipe of talent, because things have to, the next gen has also to take over in a short time. What we have done, if we look at it in 4 examples, recent issues that we have addressed is, first of all, we have actually been out campaigning quite a bit on the work performed by the Law and Bar Society. We are actually doing small videos, each council member. We are doing a lot of social media posts. We are actually also going out giving small speeches at the first program for education lawyers. So we are trying to create a lot of awareness. We are also, and we have done that significantly more in the last couple of years, cooperating with the other stakeholders, acknowledging that we are actually an organization that impacts quite a bit, both on the political side, but also on the organizational sides. So we are working, just as an example, very much with the trade union, who has a section for lawyers, and having a very good relationship with them. And we are currently also actually trying to amend our articles of the Danish Law and Bar Societies in order to actually make it more attractive, not only for the young lawyers, but for everybody involved in collegial work. So making it meaningful and making it fun and making it a learning experience. And we have actually also, in order to be a modern council, have actually now have a couple of young members in order actually to have the next gen around the table when we make decisions for the future of lawyers in Denmark. So we are trying to kind of live what we are saying and doing that. Then for the last 2 minutes, I'll just address the building your career, which is Sergej's last point. And I think today, and that goes very much today more than it did when I was a young lawyer 30 years ago, if you have to be a relevant lawyer today, you have to be able to not only have a deep knowledge of the law, that's more or less an assumption, but you also have to have a broad knowledge. And I think actually this generation is so very good at this. You are very good at communicating. You're very good at collaborating. You are actually accessing the value of flexibility, and you have and I guess this session is an example of that. You value network and critical thinking, and that's from an employer perspective. That's also what we see as valued. So I put up here this phrase, which is a kind of a recruiting phrase, the T-shaped lawyers, and I think it's when you build your career, work on both sides, have the knowledge of the law, but also work on the more broad knowledge, which is also a lot of network and relationship building. I'll not speak too much about this, but I think you have to take into account the situation we are in today, where we have a lot of challenges globally affecting us. And that's why I think it's so important that you are building collaborations and networks in order, not only just for the legal business, but also for the global business. You are living in a world which be much more focused on technology than we have been used to. It's transforming the legal profession in many ways. You have to familiarize yourself with the legal research tools, the case management software, and also AI. So I think that will be more or less a license to operate. I think it's very important that you do continuous learning. I think also Valentin said that. You have to be curious, you have to be bold. You should never stop learning, you should never stop trying, because the legal landscape evolves consequently. And then I think it's very also important that we have to acknowledge the way the leadership is today. We are much more both feedback and actually forward feedback orientated. We need to be able to talk to each other in a frank way. And so I think these are some of the aspects you should consider when you're building the career. And then that said, I think my last slide is that just to acknowledge that the competitive parameter you will see is how to navigate. It's such a fast-changing world. It's not predictable. So all that said, it's so important that you follow your own dreams. You have to define your own career. And at least one of the phrases that I've been living with is kind of you have to acknowledge that career is not a journey. It's a journey. It's not a destination. So where you are right now, that is part of your career. You shouldn't just aim for making partner, making president of your National Bar Association. You should enjoy the moment and you should build on that. And I think you will be in very good position for that. So I wish you all a good luck with that. And thank you for the time.
Dear Martin, thank you for the time and for being with us today. I do appreciate your presentation, your quotes. It's really interesting to us and also to listen to it. I believe we may have one or two questions just from audience. I know, Julia, yes, please.
Yes, hello everybody. I'm glad to be here and see all of you. My name is Julia Sergeyeva. I'm a lawyer from Ukraine, member EYBA and NextGen. Mr. Martin, actually, I have many questions for you, but if it's possible, I will ask two of them, two short questions. First, I would like to say thank you for your very interesting speech and some insight. For example, do as a mom, it was very interesting. Actually, I have two questions. If I will ask both of them. What are the most common mistakes lawyers make in their practice that, in your opinion, prevent the successful growth in legal career? And the second question, what are your basic and strict rules, ethic rules in your legal practice? Thank you.
Well, thank you. I think actually one of the mistakes that lawyers are usually doing and mostly making in the early stages of your career is that you are moving too fast. I think it's important taking your time, learning the skills of becoming a lawyer, and do that in the right practice, and then I think things will come. So don't do it too fast. Look also about the mentors you have around you, and then at the same time develop your own way of being a lawyer. And I think that's why the legal profession is so interesting, because we, in many ways, we have this way of mentoring, but then at the end of the day, you still have to find your own way. And then on the legal ethics, I think that is very important, because having the ethic rules is actually what make us different from many other professions. In some ways we have to lose up on opportunities that our profession can't. But I think at the end of the day, it's a privilege that we have these rules that can that makes us special, and that also gives us some trust and confidence with the clients, which is so important. But we have to keep that up and have our flag held high on that issue as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your answer.
Thank you, Martin, and we can wait to see you and your bar in Copenhagen this summer in June. I know that many young members are going to attend this amazing conference, and I know how hard your team, young lawyers team, already work on this conference, and we thought the concept of the program and the conference will be amazing for sure. Thank you so much for your time and join us today.
Thank you.
I'm honored to introduce our next speaker, which will be Sandra Maria Santos, Vice President at the Portuguese Bar Association. Sandra has been a lawyer with an active registration in the Portuguese Bar Association since April 2002, and has been registered in the Access to Law and Court system since 2010. She was treasurer member of the Santa Maria de Ferreira delegation of the Portuguese Bar, and the president of this delegation in 2022 to 2022. Since 2023, Sandra has been vice president of the Portuguese Bar Association. And the Portuguese Bar Association aims to address the real and daily problems of lawyers, promote dignity and dignification of the profession, give the voice to advocacy, and help Portuguese lawyers reconcile personal and professional life. The work she has done at the Portuguese Bar Association includes defending the current regime of access to law and courts, reviewing the fee schedule, defend the proper acts of advocacy, defending dignity for all forms of professional practice and social rights, and performing highly qualified training for all professional practicing lawyers. Sandra, the stage is yours, please.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon to all the colleagues. It's a pleasure to be here today and talk to all of you of my personal experience. As you told, I practice law since 2002. When I start practice laws, I faced a series of challenges. I start with my professional internships as a lawyer in 2000. And at that time, training of the law was very complicated. We don't need to be accompanied by our tutor, our senior lawyer, and I need to learn very fast. So
Можно я чуть на градика? Тебе принесли обед.
Sorry, we have a problem.
I thought maybe some attendees turn on the microphone, but moderator will
Sorry, guys. Sorry. Of course, back then, as a young lawyer, I was very sure of the theoretical knowledge, but practice, I didn't know anything. I need to study very hard to be the best lawyer as we can be. But since then, I understand being a lawyer is constant study and training all day. I am independent practice lawyer. I practice solo practitioner. I have a daily huge challenge. I don't have a working colleague. I practice alone. I am alone on my office. I attend my clients all alone. I study every day, all the process, all alone. It's very difficult not to share, not have a partner to question, oh, help me here, help me there. It's very complicated. But in Portugal, most of lawyers practice individually. Social lawyers is a huge part of the practice laws in Portugal. Every day I study process. Every day I face challenges like to receive our clients all alone. I attend the telephone. I write by myself all the documents. And as a mom, like our colleague says, it's very difficult to conciliate our profession by the private life. As a member of the bar of a Portuguese bar, we have a full knowledge of the young lawyers' needs. We have a commission called Instituto para a Ajuda dos Jovens Advogados, and we try every day to receive our complaints, to communicate with them, to help them to the everyday challenges, and promote I'm sorry, my English is very, very complicated. We try to remove all the obstacles to the young lawyers. We train them to be the most care and helpful lawyers. We accomplish every day to help them to help in the courts. We have a series of the initiatives to provide lawyers in their professional lessons, like a book of the professional prerogatives. We furnish them professional emails as a digital certificate, and we help them to access to judicial proceedings. We help them with a very simple and also identify the legal professional. The young lawyers in Portugal have a series of problems. When we start to practice, we need to be inscribed in the bar. We need to have an office. We need to have a registration. We face a month of challenges, and it's very difficult to young lawyers in Portugal to establish during because we have many theft. So we need to spend a lot of money to establish on our office. Today, I have 3 essential suggestions for the young lawyers. Never stop learning. Have a good relationship with the colleagues. Be ethical. Be have a sense of responsibility. Be ethical. Be honest to our colleagues and to our colleagues. Never. We need to study every day. We need to be training and acquire tools that we need to facilitate our professional. We need to be a full day of knowledge of the law, of the technological skills. We need to be every day in upgrade our knowledges. The profession of a lawyer is very, very, very complicated. We need to be every day a step away from the the technology. We need to be sure of the laws they are in practice and course. We need to be skills of the technologies skills. We need to be always carefully with every change that every day systems law bring us. My final advice to young lawyers: never give up, never give up. It's very complicated, this profession, but if you never give up, you realize that establishes our proposals, our skills, and never be sure. The profession is very, very complicated, but never give up. Never give up.
Sandra, I appreciate your tips, and one question raised at that moment, and that I would like to ask you. I know that many people trying to relocate to Portugal. I mean, like foreigners, etc. And how does it affect the legal profession in terms of potential colleagues from different countries, from trying to obtain a license, attorney license in Portugal, and also to have different foreigners in Portugal that have their own needs and their own background? May you clarify this situation, this challenge young lawyers may face, or your bar might face in Portugal?
We have in Portugal a system that we promote the foreigners to practice in Portugal. Since we have a special requirements for the European lawyers and the outsiders of the European lawyers. Our system is very, very, very peculiar, and the foreign lawyers need to know the procedural legislation, the platforms, legals. They have to be assured that they know very well the system of the Portugal system, because if they don't know, they could be jeopardize the defense of the citizens. The systems, the legal system of Portugal is very, very different from the others. And now, in my opinion, all the lawyers of the other countries, that they don't have any problem in Portugal. They be assured that they need to know the system law, because if they don't know how to work the system in Portugal, they can be jeopardized the rights of the citizens. It's very, very complicated. If they don't defend their needs, they could be jeopardized their rights and is ethical professional. I think this is.
Thank you for your response. I just saw in the chat that already colleagues started to quote your speeches, never give up. And I believe we make a short conclusion after each speaker, after their speeches. I would like to say thank you for your speech and for being with us today. And also know that Portuguese, you celebrate holiday today. And
yes.
You're supposed to be like in Portuguese bar event. And thank you for being with us and to have this.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Dear colleagues, I would like to proceed with announcement of our next speaker. It's Mark Evans, Deputy Vice President of the Law Society. Mark competed as a solicitor in 1995. For over 28 years, Mark worked in a general high street law firm with offices in North Wales and Cheshire. Mark specialized in property and private client work and held various leadership positions. In October 2021, he joined the University of Law as a tutor and now as a lecturer. He teaches the real estate, private client, and professional skills in a variety of undergraduate and postgraduate courses. Mark has been a Law Society Council member since 2015 and was chair of the Law Society Wales Committee from 2017 to 2021. Mark has been a chair of various organizations with over 12 years experience. And to relax, Mark attempts to run marathons in support of dementia charity. That I think it's like really interesting. Mark, the stage is yours, and I believe many members will ask you questions related to your bio.
Thank you, Sergey, and it's a delight to be joining you this evening. So I'm joining you this evening from the University of Law in Manchester, where I'm going to be teaching this evening aspiring lawyers of the future. So it's great to be part of this event today. Obviously, there were three questions for me to go over and to consider. The first was obviously my career journey, which Sergey has sort of touched upon, and the challenges that I faced to get to where I am. So a bit of background, I think, is important. I am a first generation lawyer. I have no family connections with law. My father was a steel worker and my mum volunteered at a local primary school. So I'm from a very small village in North Wales, and I was always interested in law. But at that time in the 1980s, I wanted to join the police force. But in the UK at that time, you had to be a certain height, and I was too small. So I decided that law was of interest because I knew lawyers wanted to help people and businesses and find solutions. And that really appealed to me and has stuck with me throughout my entire career. So I was fortunate to get a place at a university and was a first generation graduate within my own family. And in 1993, I was very fortunate to get a training contract in North Wales. And which is rather unusual today. I stayed with that firm for 28 years in practice, whereas many people now tend to move on every 2 to 3 years. And I did hold various management responsibilities and recruitment responsibilities within my own firm. But one of the key things for me was I felt like an outsider because of my lack of insight into the legal world. And with no family sort of background or connections, at a very early stage in my career, I got involved with local law society events and groups. Mainly at that time, it was things like quizzes and drinks receptions and dinners. But I began to meet other professionals and began to feel part of a legal community. And I think it's so important that you feel part of a legal community, locally, nationally, and internationally. So, you know, I moved really from attending those social events, which I enjoyed, and when I was in my 20s and 30s, to then in 2010, joining the local Law Society committee in Cheshire and North Wales. And I became president of that local society in 2014. And that sort of got me interested in things at a more national level. And I then joined in 2014 the Law Society Wales Committee. Obviously, I'm the Deputy Vice President of the Law Society of England and Wales, which obviously are two countries, but with one legal jurisdiction. I won't go into the complicated aspect of that jurisdiction, but there are different laws between Wales and England. And obviously, I was involved in making sure that we disseminated the relevant information to our members about the different laws within the two countries. And it was in 2015 that I joined the Law Society Council. And our council is sort of made up of 100 members with geographic, work sector and characteristic seats. And I was very fortunate last year then to be voted by the council to be the deputy vice president. And I'll be president obviously next year in 2025. 2020 though was a life-changing moment for me, as I'm sure it was for us all, with COVID. And that's when I really took up running, and that changed my life. And I'm going to touch upon that in a second as to the benefits of having things outside of law, and that you maintain it. And it's because of my taking up of running that I decided to reflect and review where I was going and what I was doing. And that's when I now had a passion for teaching those who are entering the profession. So I changed my career, and I'm now a lecturer, obviously, at the university. And so that's about a bit of my background of where I am and how I've got here. How does the Law Society of England and Wales, though, support and assist its young lawyers and attorneys? Well, one of our founding purposes, obviously, is to support the profession. And that means now, whatever stage of your career you are, we want to help, we want to support, we want to guide you. And especially because we expect everyone to meet high standards. We expect it, clients expect it, and it's important that you've got support at every stage. And it's particularly important for lawyers that at your early stages in your careers that you've got somebody to turn to and somebody to take advice from, whether it's regulatory responsibilities or just the pressures of the day-to-day job. Sometimes it's difficult to talk to somebody within your own firm, and you need somebody that you can trust and talk to in confidence. So one of the key things that the Law Society does in England and Wales is having the close connection and our work through the Junior Lawyers Network, which is a network of professionals with up to 5 years sort of post-qualification experience. The network is aimed at junior lawyers to help them to progress their careers, and it does this in a number of ways by hosting sort of regional seminars and summits throughout England and Wales, enabling to get great speakers like we've had this evening. It's been fascinating to listen to all the speakers this evening, and it's a great opportunity for you to engage and meet with similar peers and have similar experiences. We've obviously been developing online learning platforms and courses and taking full advantage of technology as we move forward. And our profession is a large one. We've got over 200,000 members in England and Wales. And obviously one of the challenges is deciding, which area of law you want to go and which area you want to specialize in. And often that's, a difficult decision. And for many now, there's a growing sector with the in-house sector. But equally in Wales, we've got a lot of sole practitioners. We've got a really wide range of firms and professions that we've got. So the Law Society is here to try and help you and guide you in making decisions and answer any questions that you've got. And one of the great sort of resources that this offers is having sort of one-to-one sessions with a careers coach. And that gives you invaluable sort of tailored advice for those who want it. And the other advantage or benefit of a network like ours is it gives members a channel to feed in their insights. We want to listen to your views. I'm going to be listening to my students' views this evening and tomorrow. We want to know what the insights are, the views, the challenges, so that we can really address it and move it and be forward thinking. That means that when I come to an event like today, or to meet with other organisations, I can speak directly about what the perspectives of our junior members and our profession is. And we can make sure that we're doing everything really as a representative body on behalf of our junior members. So that's a sort of a brief, really brief summary as to our cooperation with young lawyers. The 3 tips that I would recommend for any lawyers building their career are a little bit, I'm not going to touch upon what's been said before, because I agree with a lot of, with everything that people have said, and learning is so important. But my 3 tips, I'm going to keep it really simple. 1, get involved with your local legal community and network. It's so important to experience the views of others and not just those who you work with. So, like you're doing tonight, engage with other professionals at an early stage and keep that engagement throughout your legal career. So that's my first tip. My second tip is, and we touched upon it, try and maintain a good work-life balance. It's difficult, you're under pressure, but you must remember we have one life. Find time to support your family and friends. Life isn't just work, make sure that you never forget that. So it's important throughout your career that you step back, you reflect, and you think, make sure that you find time for others. It is so important. My longevity in my firm is because I had the support of my family, and where I am today is exactly that. And my third tip touches upon my running. I'd gone from 1999, when I had last did my run, to 2020. I'd put on weight, I was unhealthy, I felt mentally drained. And I went from couch to marathon in 10 months. And I did the London virtual marathon, and I did the Manchester marathon last week. Continue and participate in exercise and sport. It will benefit you absolutely throughout your career, both physical and mental health. I had a gap for 21 years. I regret that. I wish I'd kept up with sport and activity throughout my entire career. You will feel better for it. It's quite a strange thing for me to be saying to you when we've got a legal conference, really, but it is important. So those are my tips, really. That's what I'd like to recommend, and I'm more than happy to take any questions. Thanks, Sergey.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate your agenda and following our questions. Honestly speaking, we have online translation to our social media, and we received several questions to you. And the last one was related to legal profession, how to relax, because we need to unwind, to change our focus, and so that training help you there, etc. But you already answered that questions. That's why I believe we can move forward. And I see Alexander Chernych raised the hand. Alexander, please.
Hello, thank you, Sergey. Mark, I have one question for you. Why and when did you chose to engage to hold a participation in legal self-government in law society? Maybe it's easy to just build your legal career, but why you're working in law society in Wieslow?
Okay. Yeah. I believe if you want to change things, you've got to get involved. Standing on the side and moaning or complaining, might give you a little bit of comfort, but you really need to get involved. And so from my background and where I am from, I always considered that all decisions took place in the capital cities of Wales and England, i.e. in Cardiff and London. So the only way I could change is by getting involved on those committees and going to London and going to Cardiff to express my view and hopefully making a change. So that's what drove me to get involved. But also this underlying motive that I've had throughout my whole career is to help others and to help people. And so, we are lawyers. We do want to help people, and we'll often help our community as well. And so the drive for me was thinking that we can do things better. And, I never, I work in a council. I don't have the views that are always going to be correct, because we like to listen to all views and that, but it's important that you express your view in your career. That's what I would recommend. If you have a view, express it, be confident, but also be respectful, of other people who have differing views. That is important. Thanks,
Thank you, Martin. Yeah, thanks for taking part, and your contribution is greatly valued for us. Thank you for being with us today. And I'm honored to introduce the next speaker of our panel discussion of our among our speakers, Barbara Mills KC. Barbara is Vice President of the Single Bar Council of England and Wales. I apologize. Barbara is a Silk and Joint Head of Chambers and FOPB and practices in family law, specializing in difficult and complex children cases, often with an international element. Barbara is an arbitrator and a mediator, sits as a deputy high court judge, and has been a recorder of the Southeastern Circuit for over 10 years. Barbara chairs the Bar Council Regularity Review Working Group and has been a member of the Equality, Diversity, and Social Mobility Committee and co-chair of the RISE Working Group, which published the landmark RISE at the Bar Report in 2020. Barbara is a specialist family practitioner with an emphasis in children cases. In addition, she has extensive experience advising and acting for parties in private law proceedings, often with international elements in the High Court. Barbara, we're happy you are here today with us, and please, we're looking forward to hear you.
Good evening, Sergey. Thank you so much for the invitation to join you, and greetings from a very wet London this evening. As you've asked me to, I intend to spend my few minutes that I've got telling you something about my journey and my career to this date, how it is that I come to be the Vice Chair of the Bar of England and Wales. Tell you something about the way in which the Bar Council supports the lifeblood of the profession, which is our young members, and to share with you some tips for the young lawyers. So my route into the profession was fairly straightforward, fairly traditional. I went from school to university. While I was at university, secured a place at the Inns of Court School of Law, where I did my first bit of vocational training. From there, I secured a pupillage, which is working almost like an apprenticeship, working with senior barristers to understand the practice of being a barrister. And during my pupillage, I was offered a tenancy at 4 paper buildings. So I started there in 1990 as a pupil. And as you said when you introduced me, I'm now one of his joint heads of chambers. So I stayed there for so long that they allowed me to leave the set. As you say, I'm a specialist family law barrister, and it has been a most rewarding career. The challenges that I faced were, the first real challenge that I faced was a financial one. Like Mark, the speaker before, I didn't come from a family of lawyers. And at the time that I did pupillage, it wasn't funded. So you would be training with a set of chambers, but nobody paid you. And I was, of course, living in London. I had been supported through my earlier education by a charitable foundation, but when I secured pupillage, they thought that the time was right to let me go. So what I did actually for the first bit of working as a pupil was also worked in a chemist. And when my chambers heard about the fact that I was working on a Saturday and Sunday in a chemist, they thought that that wasn't the job that I should be doing alongside being a barrister. And so they offered to fund me by giving me some limited support, which was very grateful for. So that was the real first challenge. But like all challenges, I didn't expect anybody to rescue me. So I got on with it by getting a job. But it was very much to my benefit when chambers decided they would support me financially, which was, as I say, very unusual at the time. The biggest challenge I faced, though, was the challenge of not feeling like I belonged in the profession. There were very few women barristers when I started, and even fewer Black people at the Bar of England and Wales when I started. The way I dealt with that challenge is the way I deal with every challenge that I face. I wasn't prepared not to be a barrister. It'd been a dream of mine for a long time. And therefore I did 2 things, both of which I think have stood me in good stead, which is why I remain in the profession. One was that I thought that if people didn't expect barristers to look like me, I had to make very sure that I was as qualified, if not more, as all of my other colleagues. And so I set about doubling down on my effort to be really qualified. That is how you come to describe me, as a mediator, an arbitrator. I sit as a part-time judge, and since last year, I sit as a part-time judge in the High Court. And I'd like to now say that I'm able to resolve family disputes, whichever way you look at it, whichever angle you come at it, I'm able to assist a client to resolve the dispute. So I doubled down and got very good at my craft. The other thing that I did to help me not feel like I was outside of the circle was really what Mark also said, which is I made sure that I participated in life at the bar. I was active in my inn, which is Inner Temple. Every barrister in England and Wales belongs to one of the 4 inns, which is a group of barristers, a society for barristers, and mine is Inner Temple. I helped with advocacy. I was a mentor for other students, for students coming through, and I was just visible and made sure that I was part of the inn's activities. I also was active with the Bar Council. So from very early on, I was part of its professional conducts and complaints committee at the time that regulation was a part of the Bar Council's work. I had a break when I was doing other things from Bar Council business, but in 2018, I returned to Bar Council as the family law representative on the council. In 2020, as you say, the Bar Council appointed me to be co-chair of the race working group to really investigate the reason why Black talent wasn't getting access to the profession, or when they got access to the profession, why they didn't stay or progress. And so together with my co-chair, Simon Regis, we delivered a report in November 2021, which sets out some of the information we'd gathered and also provides the profession with 23 recommendations. In 2023, last year, I stood for vice chair of the Bar Council, and I'm very pleased to say that I was elected, which makes me the 5th woman in Bar Council's history to be vice chair and the very first Black woman or person of colour to hold that position. So I stuck around long enough to belong and to be a part of the circle of business. So what does the Bar Council do to cooperate with its young lawyers and to assist them? Well, as the lead representative body for barristers in England and Wales, the Bar Council is devoted to ensuring that all barristers' voices are heard efficiently and effectively, and to ensure that the interest of the bar in terms of public interest remains its key focus. And it does that by having a number of groups and committees within it. And one of them is the Young Barristers Committee. That committee started in 1954, and it's therefore 70 years old this year. And it was set up to support all barristers who are under 7 years qualified. So after you've done, the time starts from after pupillage. And it really emerged out of the pressing need to address the issues which are particular to young barristers. The Young Barristers Committee meets throughout the year, takes about 5 meetings a year. At least one is held in the morning because it recognizes that many of the young barristers have caring responsibilities. And its objective as a committee is to make sure the first 7 years of professional life counts. That committee is very active and collaborates closely with a number of other committees, in particular the Circuit, the Specialist Bar Associations, the Law Society of England and Wales, the European Young Bar Association, I'll come to that in a moment, as well as the American Bar Association. And the Young Barristers Committee is also able to put on information, webinars and panel discussions which assist young barristers. So for example, already this year, there has been a session with the Junior Solicitors Network. There has been a session, and in that session, it was looking at thriving in the first few years of practice. there's been a pupils webinar, which was set up. It was a free webinar to provide support and advice for barristers who were doing their pupillage, and topics range quite widely from how to build a practice to working remotely, how to look after yourself, and so on. And they've also, on the 21st of February, had a Handling Ethical Dilemmas seminar, which is again online. The Young Barristers Committee also makes sure that it has very good contacts internationally. And its flagship exchange program, for example, is the Anglo-Dutch exchange, which takes place every other year, either in London or in the Netherlands. It's a 3-day program. This year it'll be in the Netherlands from the 9th to the 12th of July. And barristers obviously cooperate one with the other, share knowledge and information, and meet new colleagues. The Young Barristers Committee is also really good contacts with your association. And in fact, they plan to join you in Copenhagen later on this year at the end of June, I believe. This year, I believe that the European Young Bar Association has initiated a representatives project, which enables member organisations to build closer ties with this organisation. And I'm very pleased to say that the Young Barristers Committee has appointed a committee member to join that project. The Young Barristers Committee also hosts an international weekend, which again, I think you know about. They co-host the weekend with Junior Solicitors Network, as well as the London Young Lawyers Group, and that takes place in London every September. Again, it's a 3-day program, which involves young bar leaders across Europe, but also from the United States, getting together for a bit of a cultural exchange, professional development, and networking. The Young Barristers Committee also participates in the 4 Jurisdictions Conference, which takes place every year in either England and Wales, Scotland, Ireland, or Northern Ireland. And the chair of the committee attends with other of her colleagues across those countries. So as well as providing webinars and seminars for young barristers, as well as its involvement internationally, the Young Barristers Committee of the Bar Council also provides resources that are available for young barristers in case they need to tap into that for information. And some of the resources include Life at the Bar report in 2021, which provides recommendations and has formed the impetus for quite a lot of the policies that bar councillors put out. There's a guide to starting at the bar, which is for young barristers on how to go about starting a career at the bar, the do's and don'ts. There's a practice review guide, which is a guide for barristers and clerks, which sets out the principles that are needed to have important practice reviews and practical ways to get the most out of the review process that takes place, we hope annually, for barristers to ensure that their careers are on track. Since the pandemic, one of the issues that we've had is the working from home and working remotely. Whilst it has its advantages, we are very concerned as a profession that some of the young barristers in particular are missing out on the getting together, learning from others. And so I was very pleased that we've recently published tips for barristers who are working remotely. It's intended to help practitioners who are focused at working from home to get that important life-work balance that Mark spoke about, so that they don't suffer burnout and they keep an eye on their well-being. The Bar Council also offers to young barristers an international professional and legal development grant programme, and that matches funded grants programmes for young barristers who want to take part in international programmes abroad, which is incredibly useful. So the Bar Council, having trotted through that, is very keen to ensure that those young barristers, our young barristers, understand that they are the lifeblood of the profession. We need to look after them and nurture them and assist them to stay in the profession, progress in the profession, because they are the future. I'll end on the tips. So what tips can I share? Well, the trouble is, when I think of myself as a young barrister, there wasn't much I would hear from other people when they offered me suggestions and tips. And many have been shared anyway. Many of them have been shared anyway. So I'll perhaps share two. The first I would say is that you're never too young in the profession to really have the goals that you would like to achieve in mind, so that your moves within your work are strategic. Time is limited, and we have to keep an eye on our well-being. So it isn't, for my mind, it isn't a good idea to do everything that is on offer. It is more important to have an eye on what you want to achieve. Is it judicial career? Is it in our profession becoming a silk? The sort of work that you want to do, and then how you want to build and be quite focused in doing that. So when you're asked to write articles or participate in webinars or seminars or workshops, you know exactly which ones to say yes to and which ones not to say yes to. The other tip that I'd give to any young professionals starting off is to really try and reframe what failure means. Because so much of the time, certainly when I was younger and didn't know so much better than I do now, failure, if things didn't go my way, I built a narrative around the rejection or the no that wasn't actually the reality. The only failure in my world is when you don't try at all, but trying and not getting anything is just an opportunity really to get better at what it is you're doing. And once I got that into my head, it made me so much bolder to dare, to take steps forward, to take a risk. And it is in taking those risks that I've ended up where I am today, as vice chair of this much loved profession of mine, and able to share with you this evening. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you today.
Thank you, Barbara. It's a pleasure to have you here today, and I would like to highlight our cooperation with Bar Council and Young Bars Committee. It's really productive, and we're happy that your members are active in our organization and in terms of our workshop in the International Weekend in London. And of course, we are waiting each September, and we're happy to be in London during the International Weekends. Fatih, I think your hand is raised. Please ask a question.
Thank you, Sergey, and welcome. Thank you very much to all participants. And I have a short question to Barbara. I'm a Turkish lawyer, and in the past, in my country, in Turkey, the profession of the lawyer and going to the law faculty is like a kind of the social class upgrade for us in my country, in the family. But have you thought the same thing in the UK before? And still in these days, nowadays, what's your opinion about it? Is still the social class upgrade is psychologically or not? What's your opinion?
Well, at the Bar Council and at the bar generally, we recognize that for a long time, it looked as though only a certain type of person from a certain background was eligible to come into the profession. Well, we are now making things much more open. We are very much alive of the barriers that stops people from coming into the profession, whether it's financial, whether it's just not knowing anybody in the profession. Some of the traditions that we have can put people off. And the Equality, Diversity and Social Mobility Committee of the Bar Council is really alive to that. And the Bar Council has put out many policies which make it easier for people from non-traditional backgrounds to enter into the profession. there is much progress and the statistics are getting better, but we're nowhere near where we should be, and we are not complacent. And part of what drives me is to ensure that there is equity and equality regardless, and so that that talent should be assisted by being given the right opportunity. So it is something that we're alive to. The profession is open to making the necessary changes. And one of the things that we were very keen to provide the profession were those recommendations in the Race at the Bar report. Those recommendations, the report was looking specifically at race at the bar, but the recommendations are applicable to ensure that you create equality regardless of who's coming through, and to ensure that the need for the profession to look like the society that it seeks to serve is always at the forefront of our mind.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara, for your time and for being with us today. I'm honored to introduce our next speaker, which one will be the final today. Our next speaker is Roman Zawczyk, CCB Vice President. In April 2012, for the first time, as one of the youngest lawyers, Roman was elected president of the Slovenian Bar Association, which he will lead for 3 terms until 2021. Roman has also headed the delegation of the Slovenian Bar Association to the CCB and was the representative of the Slovenian Bar Association in both the Union of National Associations and the International Bar Association. In February 2020, he was elected as the chair of CCB Platform for Exchange, Cooperation and Outreach Committee, which he chaired for 2 terms. In 2005, he started his own law practice as a sole practitioner and founded his own company. Roman specialized in civil, commercial, and human rights law. And also Roman is a Council of Europe expert and has advised together with a team of European experts on the Council of Europe project on the reform of the bar legislation in Georgia, Ukraine, Moldova, and Armenia. Roman, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Sergey, for such a nice introduction. But however, it needs to be said, I'm a simple lawyer practicing on a daily basis in my law firm as well, because I'm living out of this, and all the rest comes in my career on the way. So it would be very hard to say something what would be even more useful than what my three speakers already said. So I mean, it's really hard to add up something on this, but however, I will try to even to share how I come or how I walk on this path to the position where I am now. And at the end, of course, if there will be something, I will try to give some tips for young lawyers, and of course, in between what CCB as an umbrella organization of the European bars, and of course, Slovenia National Bar, where I got also experience, have done or is doing for the young lawyers as you are. So I prepared a short presentation. Of course, every item of this presentation have a story behind. I hope it is shared. It has a story behind it, but I would not get into very much deep unless it is asked. So I'm open for your questions in between or at the end of my presentation. However, but it needs to be said, of course, that when I started my work, so there was a totally different state. There was an ex-Yugoslavia. I started my studies immediately after the independence war in 2021. And then I studied according to the law, which were at that time, some of them still in force in ex-Yugoslavia, but were completely changed when I finished my studies. So I was thinking, why the hell I'm studying these laws? Because the system was totally changed. It was changed from the socialist system for the normal developed, say, democratic system with a totally different type of companies, different type of system of organization of life and everything. But however, nevertheless, I was thinking this was really something which was not necessary when I started my first job. So I found it was very useful because I came to the company and I immediately need to use the old laws because the company was not equipped with the new ones, and they need to go through transformation. So after I finished my studies, so there was different times. There was already the independent country of Slovenia, which was before ex-Yugoslavian Socialist Republic, and now at the end of my studies, country. Of course, a couple of years later, through those accession proceedings, we entered the EU, and many opportunities for the new lawyers were showed up, and there was a lot of good opportunities for the lawyers. However, at the time of the ex-Yugoslavia, I need to say there was when I studied, the system was a little bit different because, I mean, you could read the foreign literature, but however, the borders are semi-closed. You could not freely travel. There are some limitation on traveling. There are not a lot of student exchanges. And it was really specific time, which then resulted also, it's a good experience for your future life. So I tried to cut my career on some milestones which could be important for you or worth it to listen, because this free attorney phase, which consists more or less of my work between different companies, then attorney phase when I started to work as a trainee attorney or candidate attorney, and then become independent attorney, which was slightly mixed and overlapped with this institutional phase, which I called the phase of the bar associations, of course, domestic and international. So I started really as a legal consultant in a normal company. So it was a kind of, I mean, a coincidental story, because I tried to start after my graduate. I started to work as a lawyer, but there were no jobs because the situation was immediately after the independence war. And I applied for a company, which was one of the biggest telecom operators, state-owned in Slovenia, to work as a trainee. I need to get some experience. And they said, we are to know, we are sorry, we don't have any posts. Anyway, we have some other issues, so we do not employ. And I received the letter, and I just read it. And at the evening, I got the telegram. It's a sad story, in fact. I said, yeah, we accept you. So you need to come to see us the next day. And I really thought, okay, what a strange situation. First, they let me know they don't need the lawyer. Now the telegram came over the phone. It was still the telephone. They called me from the post office to go the telegram, and it reads as follows. And the next day, I came to the company, so they led me to the law department, and this is your post. I just want to have a meeting. No, this is your post, because the product who was working here just died yesterday, and we are in urgent need to have somebody. So my career started coincidentally because somebody left the company, unfortunately, by deceased. But I got all his case files. I need to work immediately on the case files, and by luck, with a good mentor, because I was really fresh. I know what was written in the law, but I had no experience. I mean, experience in the law for how to work. So with a good mentorship, I really succeed and overpass those starting moments, and then I start my career in this company. And after a while, so with the a couple of years, I was really, with a lot of effort I invested into my work. So I was really promoted to a better post. And then I wanted, because for the time I wanted to be a lawyer, practicing lawyer, not in-house, but a practicing lawyer. So, and then I asked, at that time my boss said, look, I would like to go for a trainee, and a traineeship for a lawyer was in the court, in the high court. There were a couple of courts in Slovenia, but 4 of them. But one of the high courts, you need to apply, and you need to work there at least for a year. And they said, no, we need to just wait for a while. We need to, it was at least for a year that I postponed because I was accepted. And they said, no, just postpone for a while. And after a year, I said, look, I could not postpone anymore. And they said, okay, we will send you there, and we will leave you for 1 year, but you need to come back. time. I passed this 1 year candidacy at the court, working all the court divisions with the judges and preparing the decisions, the drafted decisions for the judge, and everything from all the departments. And after 1 year and passed the state bar exam, I returned back to the telecom. Sergey, you wanted to ask something? I see the raised hand, or?
I apologize for interrupting, but it seems that some misconnection appears, or maybe because of microphone or things like this. Sometimes, like we heard you like very badly, and I think maybe it's better to change the audio channel.
I will improve. I put the So is it better now?
Yeah, it's better because sometimes, like, you know, you're speaking, you just acting, and yeah.
No problem. Thank you for letting me know that I would not speak for 20 minutes without hearing that you do not hear me. So thank you. So yeah, and of course, after this pre-attorney phase, I finished I also finished the court traineeship, and then went to was a nice opportunity, and I was in fact 2 times working at the European Court of the Human Rights, as a first time as a trainee volunteer, and the next time when they found that I could be useful for them as a legal advisor. So after finishing those pre-attorney phase, I come back. I somehow feel this call that I need to go back, because all the time wanted to be a lawyer. So, and I came back into Slovenia and start with my own practice of the solo practitioner. So it was also, again, quite an interesting story, because I returned back, rented premises, and at that time there was a colleague of mine who was already a senior lawyer, quite I mean, with a good practice, and she was just changing the furniture of the law firm. I said, look, I got a spare furniture, so if you would like, and I could gift you some. I said, I'm really looking forward to. So I mean, I was coming, renting the premises, having nothing. So I took her furniture, bring my computer from home, and put some study books into the shelves of this furniture, on this furniture. And I was sitting really for a month already there. There was no case files in my law firm. I open it, so I'm waiting for the client. So when somebody told me then that he knows how it is to being without clients, so I was with none. I might come from Strasbourg with a good reputation of a human rights lawyer, but there were no clients at that time. And after a while, the clients appeared and appeared and appeared. And so I started to grow. And then after a while, so I retransformed those one solo practitioner firm to limited liability company. And then after a while, so of course, we also do some mergers and acquisitions. And nowadays we are in a limited liability company with partners and employees. But in between, so it was also, again, I as soon as I come back to Slovenia from the court, so I was really invited by a colleague of mine who heard that I was working there, and he invited me. So would you be, I mean, would it interest you to join the law society, the bar association, and do some works with the bar association? I said, why not? I had at that time no real clients that would spend too much time on it, because I was just coming back. And he offered me really a nice opportunity to start with the bar association work. So I was firstly his assistant. He was a president of the regional bar association. And after a while, working with him, he offered me and said, look, I see that you are completely prepared to take over the job. And I was beginning thinking, yeah, I mean, no problem. I was not thinking that he was speaking about being a regional bar president of the biggest bar in Slovenia. I said, yeah, you know, now you will prepare all the documents. We will go because my term is ending, so we would need to go through the elections. I said, yes, of course, I will prepare. He said, and you will be one of the candidates. I was thinking like this, but I just came back. So of course, I'm prepared to still work for you, to do these jobs, different commissions, preparing the documents. I said, no, you will go for the elections. And of course, then he persuaded me to, I mean, even I felt quite honored when he proposed to me to go for the elections, but I was not quite assured that the moment is right. So, and then, of course, I went for the elections and being elected. And at the same time, there were also the elections for the National Bar Association. And the elected president was also by its function also the member of the National Management Bar. And so my institutional story, domestic one, started. So I spent for more than altogether 20 years on different functions. Of course, for the last 3 terms, this is 9 years as a president of the National Bar, but this was really, say, working in a law firm, which also expanding during that time, also really a good and nice opportunity how to get acquainted with the bar issues, with different things which we usually just observe from far away, but even though get very much involved into the work as a professional. So, and of course, this was really important and one of the key milestone in my career, getting involved with the Bar Association, firstly regional and then the national one. Of course, there were many things which even affected my career because there were either the pressure from the governmental side, they wanted to strip off the power of the National Bar. We got the searches of the law firm. So at my early beginning, so I was at that time one of the, if not the youngest one, for sure one of the youngest National Bar presidents at that time. I was 38 of age. I just completing 39 and elected. And everybody, when I was elected, they were speaking, yeah, but this you stood up into the too big shoes, you would not manage. And this was something what made me even more stubborn that we would do something better. And since at least I was thinking for myself at that time, that I'm still young lawyer. Of course, I do qualify. Also at that age, I would qualify now for a young lawyer, according to your rules, that I need to attract also the young lawyers. And when I starting my terms, even as a regional bar president and national bar president, I attract a lot of young colleagues who were before quite, I would not say ignorant. They were somehow afraid that they would not be accepted by the senior colleagues who already stayed in a bar association for a long time. And this was one of the crucial moments also for the Bar Association, because we really did a lot of good things, even concerning with the legislation or this part of legislation which we could affect. Also because according to the statute of the National Bar Association, the Slovenian Bar Association has also the regional the assembly of the trainee lawyers, which have their own bodies, and also the assembly of the assembly of the candidate lawyers. So the difference is the trainee lawyers are without state bar exam, and the candidate lawyers are with the state bar exam, and the trainee lawyers are without state bar exam. And they have their own bodies. They have the president of the assembly. They have the secretary general and different, also the management board. So, and when I started, so I immediately attached those two assemblies to the, let's say, normal assembly management board of the National Bar Association. And they have every time the representative on the management board session, they have their voice when the legislation concerning the young lawyers is taking part on the national level or even on the level of the bar. And this was really quite important and crucial also for the further development of the bar, because from this time further on, so many young lawyers who started with me are nowadays on different positions within the national bar or the regional bars, or not just the regional bar where I was coming from, but also because Slovenia have 12 regional bars, they're either the vice presidents, presidents, chair of different commissions, which really proved that this was very important move, which I would not say I at that time make by myself, but that time the president with the management board, and I was only the one who was successful to persuade the management board how important it is that we attract young lawyers, because this is the future of every bar association, especially when it is very good combined with the seniority and experience. And I still claim that the bar association, which have no young lawyers, is somehow could not be successful because they do not respect the majority part of the legal population in their own country. And that's why also, because CCB is a little bit bigger association, that's why we also in the 2 years ago, we founded within the CCB also the Young Lawyers Committee, because we think it is, of course, the CCB as umbrella organization, which is representative of 45 national bars, in fact, 53 national bar association or legal societies, has also a Young Lawyers Committee. And that's why we decided that for the young lawyers, it's very important, and also for the CCB, that we do this kind of bridge with forming such a committee. And this committee is really, at the moment, it is meeting 4 times a year. So 2 times in presence, 2 times in hybrid way. Of course, the young lawyers which are discussing the young lawyers opportunity, they have the opportunity even to go to the training which are organized by the European Legal Foundation, which is a foundation instituted by CCB and other 2 stakeholders, who is more or less instituted for providing trainings for young lawyers. And we really have a very good results, because more or less the training are financed either by the European Union or the European Commission or the Council of Europe. And just recently we organized one of those webinars concerning the anti-money laundering regulation on the EU level, which proves to be a clear success, because more than 2,000 lawyers joined those webinars and forced us to make another one, because the system, the Zoom, which was the platform through which the webinar was spending, was not able to accept so many participants at once. So that's why this is the training issue. As well, the young lawyers have the opportunity not just to discuss the problematic of the young lawyers, which concerning the Euro perspective, but also they could also do a practical service in the ELIL, which is also one of the foundation instituted by CCB, and the ELIL is more or less doing the migration issue. It's founded in Greece, and it's concerned all those it's concerning the migration issues to the whole Europe. So they could serve there for 1 month, 2 months, and to get real experience how it works. Not to mention that young lawyers could also get a knowledge with the European policy work, legal policy work, and so on. But however, CCB as an umbrella organization could not provide you more. Therefore, it's usually urged to the national bars that they need to organize many more things for young lawyers, to attract young lawyers to get more familiar with the legal policy work, to the organization of the bars, because only this way the bar could be successful, or even to get more, to say in under quotes, fresh blood, fresh ideas, and good start or good push forward. So perhaps I skip up in a brief, and then I will go back to the tips for young lawyers, what the Slovenia National Bar Association is doing. Of course, for the young lawyers, say they are very close connected with the National Bar because they have their assemblies. They have also the right to appear at the assembly of the General Assembly of the National Bar. They could have a voice there, but the only thing is, since they are not a fully qualified lawyers, they could not vote on certain issues concerning the National Bar. On the other hand, the National Bar, through their Lawyers Academy, organizes different trainings, which are the costs are bared by the National Bar and the Lawyers Academy for all the trainings. They could also, the bar, if there is, the lawyer could not find him or herself employees for this official pupillage. The bar is the one who could provide such a lawyer with such a pupillage, but nowadays it's the situation is just the opposite. For the employers, it's very hard to find a lawyer who would come to the pupillage. So nowadays there is a lot of work for the bar at this pupillage issue. So my pre-speakers really said what you should do. I mean, what I could tell you. Of course, they mentioned the continuous learning. They mentioned time management, attention to details. I mean, I just counted, perhaps nothing what was on screen now was not mentioned today. But perhaps I could also add up what was probably part of my experience. I learned, I was a sportsman all the time. I'm still practicing sport. I do whenever I have time, although my calendar is so busy that sometimes I'm just wearing my sneakers and running equipment with me on my luggage and do this for at least half an hour, or wake up a little bit earlier to do this and then go for a meeting. But as a sportsman, I was playing ice hockey for 12 years. I really learned that you need to rely on team, and you could only rely on your team if you really give all of you for the team. And that's why sometimes it is important, your individual capability. It's very important that you are detailed, that you are well-trained, that you have a good networking capabilities, that you could embrace technologies. But if you could not rely on your team, and if you are not the one who could put everything on yourself for the team and the result will not be remunerated at the end of the day. So being sometimes also a good team player, sacrifice yourself sometimes for the team, and perhaps at the end also do not forget that we are social beings. Of course, nowadays we are all more or less behind the screens. We like to communicate through webinars, video conferencing, using the digital technologies of all types. But please remember, we are social beings, and it matters really much if you could communicate still in person with a group of people, that you could use your words, because lawyers, we are the ones who know how to use the words. That's why being a social being is one of the tips which you could use in your future, because I got the feeling, or I get the feeling sometimes that those social capabilities are sometimes missing in our daily life. So at this point, I would thank you very much for all the participants who stayed with me until these late hours, and of course, European Young Bar Association and Next Generation from the National Ukrainian Bar to invite me for this webinar. Thank you very much, Sergey, and thank you very much to everybody for listening to me.
Dear Roman, thank you for sharing with us your experience, your perspectives. And I already mentioned during our last offline meeting that you have a huge support of young lawyers, because we trust you, and because you say that word not because you must say something, but because you believe in that. It's not about to replace senior colleagues, it's because to build cooperation, because young generation, older generation And we are happy that we have such great examples as you, and we can build these bridges, this communication, and it's really important to us to be heard and to work together. And maybe a question to you that, you know, it's always a challenge to choose the development way. I mean, to focus only on business, self-government, or to combine somehow that parts. And my question, which tips do you have for combining these parts? Because you have your own law firm, you was chair of the bar, and nowadays you are vice president of CCB. May you provide tips to us, because it's like kind of interesting development way, and you invest too much time to legal profession also.
So I would not say it's an easy way to do this. It's really a hard way, but I mean, you need firstly to organize yourself, your timing, so to organize your calendar. And of course, it helps that if you could rely also on people who you are working with. And firstly, if you could rely, you need to build this trust. And that's why I said those social capabilities, empathy, being honest, and being just would usually help at the beginning. Of course, at the beginning to build this trust, and when you have the trust, you could not misuse it. There were also moments when we were all defeated. I mean, we were really in a bad situation, but then you need to go through and play like a sportsman. Of course, the life is full of victories, which is a good life, but also some are also if you know how to survive to defeat, to go to the victory is very good. That's why I usually say it doesn't matter how many times you fall. It matters how many times you race. And this is the only thing that if you do this in your life, you could also then combine business, bar issues, but it's important. You could not do it by yourself. If you don't have the friends, colleagues who trust you and who support you, and you need to support them as well, there is no successful way on this path.
Thanks. Thanks for answering. We'll try to do so because it's kind of complicated. And so we have two hands. First of all is Alla Filatova. Alla, please.
Thank you. Good evening for all. First of all, I want to say thank you, Roman, for your presentation. It's amazing. I am advocate Alla Filatova from Ukraine, and I am member of young community UNBA NextGen. I have some questions. First of all, I want to ask, what would you wish for young lawyers to make their communication client lawyers successful? And please say a few words about what is your secret in communication.
So, thank you. Thank you for the question. So I usually, I have done, of course, when I was younger, it could be different. This would be my clients who could explain how we make this bridge with a good communication. But usually I try to be well prepared for the meeting. I try not to just to advise on certain specific issue, but try also when I see that there is something more. Of course, I focus on the issue what the clients comes for at the meeting, but I usually said, look, this is also an issue which we would need to discuss. The timing for this is this, and also then ask from the client. Do not come for the meeting that we have just a pleasant talk over the coffee. This we could do somewhere else, but this would not be a meeting. Please come prepared. We could do this in a timing which we allocated for this, asking him or her to be prepared, and myself, which is usually nowadays quite time consuming to prepare myself for the meeting, that I spent with him really a quality time to discuss the problem, advise also on issues which the client is not thinking about, and just let him know that I do this also for him. And of course, then take care of the client. This request also from all the colleagues in the law firm, which means report informed, even if there is something what you don't think it's such important, but it might be important for the client. Let him know that we are taking care of his case file. Of course, many other things in combination with it, but in general was this what I would advise.
Few more quotes appeared. Yeah, Julia, please, I see your hands.
Yeah, thank you, Roman. Thank you so much for your amazing speech. You were already elected president of the Slovenian Bar Association when you were very young. What is your secret? What was your secret when you started? What rules were you followed? And do you have your own rules that guide you in your legal practice today?
Of course, I was one of the young, there were one who was the same age as I was, who was the president long time ago. So there were two of the age of 39 who were the presidents of the National Bar Association, but there were a difference of 40 years between us. When he finished and I started. I mean, I think that many things I did before I started with the real lawyer's career affected my lawyer's career. So I mean, I was never afraid to take any job which I work at. So I started, I mean, that's why I said every line in my presentation has a story behind. When I was 15 years old, so there was a possibility to start to work as a pupil during the summer vacation. And I asked my father, I really would like to work. I would like to get some my own money. And I said, okay, I will try to find something because it was hard for me. I didn't know anybody how to find a job then. And he found for me, said, I find for you a job. You need to go there and they will say where you will work. And he finds for me a job, my first job, which was in a shop selling the china, porcelain, and glasses. And the first day I came there, I said, what shall I do? I mean, this is really put the elephant in the china shop. So I was behaving like this. And my boss said, yeah, you need to polish the glasses. You need to do this. And then I get learned. So, I mean, even the jobs which I took, I tried to do good. Of course, I was surprised. I was not used to work in a china shop. Imagine now a 15 years boy working in a china shop selling and the porcelain to let's say, I would not say old ladies, but more or less they were senior ladies coming and buying such a things. And I really got a good experience because I learned how to be careful also for such things which are not directly of your interests. But it helped me a lot. And even other jobs which I make. So I learned really a lot from also not legal jobs which I work at. And that's why I said, never say no to any job which is offered to you. Try to do your job, of course, as good as possible if you are not trained for this job. But if you are trained, do all of yourself in this job.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your answer. Actually, in general, your career steps are very impressive. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Roman. One more time. I think we're going to make conclusion of the event. Like we are quite behind the schedule already, like 45 minutes more, but I'm happy that our audience are with us. We still have online participants and broadcasting channel and our attendees. So this is a good sign to us. This event is really interesting to young lawyers, and we have a really interesting speaker. I would like to highlight that today with us we had speeches from Valentin Gvozdy, UNBA Vice President, Mартін Lawesен, President of the Danish Bar Law Society, Sandra Maria Santos, Vice President of the Portuguese Bar Association, Mark Evans, Deputy Vice President of the Law Society, Barbara Mills, KC, Barrister Arbitrator and Vice Chair of the Bar Council of England and Wales, and Roman Zarek, CCB Vice President. And on behalf of EYBA and NextGen, I would like to say a huge thanks to our speakers. you provide tips to us, useful information, examples. And, I think we need one today to think about that we get today. And I believe we can provide a short quotes from our speakers, how to succeed, direction of development, their experience, and so on. So thank you all for being with us today. I don't think we need a huge panel discussion. In case someone would like to ask a question or maybe to highlight something to you, more than welcome to join to do so, or we can make a conclusion and close the event. Nope, I don't see questions. I don't see hands. Maybe people already are exhausted and would like to tweet. Okay, guys, thank you so much for your time, for being with us today. We will send a short follow-up about our events. And one more time, thank you, Roman. Thank you to all of our speakers. And stay tuned and see you soon. Bye-bye.
You see you.